All right, guys, let's get this back over here. Today's the last day of the notes section. We're not going to be going over 4.4. Um, I'm not worried about it. But today is all about biomes. So we're going to be talking about biomes, what they are, what they mean, and then this is the last section of notes. Tomorrow and Friday, the plan is to go over exactly how to do that paper. So it's kind of tough. I believe it's a PDF. So we'll be looking at how to convert that into a Google Doc that you guys can share with me because there's a lot to it. So that's why we're splitting it into 2 days. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this last section notes. So this is section 4.3. This is all about biomes. Ecologists group Earth's diverse environments into biomes. So what is a biome? A biome is a complex community that is characterized by climate, wildlife, and the types of soil. So those are three aspects that go into what a biome is. Climate, once again, is yearly temperatures and rainfall. Wildlife is like the type of living things that are there, including plants, including animals. And lastly, the types of soil. So is it good for growing? Is it bad for growing? And there are 10 major biomes with a gradual transition between them. So sometimes one biome can transition into another. Plants and animals are adapted to live in specific biomes, but they have certain tolerances to survive and reproduce that differ from their optimal conditions. So certain organisms can live better in one type of biome, but they can sort of adapt to other biomes if they have to. So they can live in those transition areas a little bit. Even within a particular biome, there are microclimates, which are small areas that differ from surrounding climates. So think of like an oasis in a desert. That would be a microclimate. So what are the world's major land biomes? Well, we've got a few that we're going to go over. We got tropical rainforest, tropical dry forest, tropical savanna, temperate grassland desert, temperate woodland and shrubland, so on and so forth. So on the map here, the world map, you can see all of these different areas, all of these different biomes on planet Earth and what lives there, or what type of things live there. So here are 10 major biomes. This is a chart in the notes so that you can have a quick reference if you need it. We're going to go over most of these, all of these together. So, average annual temperature and precipitations of land biomes. Well, we're going to be looking at, that goes in with the climate, we're going to be looking at each of these different climates, starting with tropical rainforest. So, everyone knows about tropical rainforest. You think of the Amazon, you think of maybe Asia, you think of Indonesia, you think of these different areas with large, lush forests and lots of different wildlife. So, tropical rainforest is an incredible genetic diversity, dense tree covering called a canopy, and under the canopy is the understory, warm, wet, and nutrient-poor soils. So the problem with rainforest, when they cut them back and people are expanding, the issue is you can't really turn that land into good farmland. Which is kind of weird with all the wildlife there. But what does it mean by incredible genetic diversity? Well, there's a huge assortment of different types of living things that live in a rainforest. Even in like 1 square mile of forest, there could be, thousands to potentially like tens of thousands of species living there. So crazy different types of things live in these areas. Tropical dry forest, these are things like, kind of like a desert almost. So this tropical dry forest has less rainfall, the forest is deciduous, and it has rich soils subject to erosion. Why is it subject to erosion? There's not a whole lot of plant life that you see here. So when the rains do come, they can wash away those good soils. Savannas next. If you've ever seen a lot of different pictures of Africa, these are these tropical savannas, particularly in the middle regions of Africa. These have even less rainfall, and they're typically covered in grasses with few trees and frequent fires set by lightning. So, Lion King, this is Lion King area right here. Uh, so basically, like grasslands. Um, and unfortunately, it's dry there as well, so the lightning can easily set off these fires. Temperate grasslands. Think of this as like the prairie out west. So this is like where there's a picture of buffalo right here, where the buffalo roam. A lot of those western states or midwestern states, they have grasses with very fertile soils. It's great for farming, which is why you have a lot of farms out there. Warm summers and cold winters. So it's pretty hot in the summer. It can get very cold in the winter, which is why if you go out west, it's you get a lot of snowfall. Next one is desert. These have less than 25 centimeters of rain a year. That's like 10 inches. About 10 inches of rain a whole year. Many undergo extreme temperature changes between day and night. It can be extremely hot at night, during the day, like over 100, and it can be extremely cold at night, like below freezing. They have soils rich in nutrients but poor in organic material. So the soil can be good for growing things, but there's not enough rain to really allow plant life to kind of take hold there. Animals must be very hardy to handle the extremes. Think of camels. Camels have a lot of different adaptations that help them in their particular desert biome. They've got eyelashes that help block sand out. They have that big fat hump, which helps them survive for long periods of time. It's not just a big water hump. But deserts can also be extremely cold, like the Gobi Desert in Asia. It's extremely cold. Really, the big thing about deserts that set them apart is just this low rainfall. So not a whole lot of rain. Temperate woodland and shrubland. This is kind of out west too. Think of like Rocky Mountain area. They're semi-arid, hot, dry summers with cool, moist winters. They have very nutrient poor soil, and fires are common. So California would be an example of this. It's semi-arid, kind of hot, very nutrient poor soil, so not a whole lot of growing out there, and there are fires every single year. Temperate deciduous forest. This is Brown County, Indiana. This is where we live. Temperate forests, these are deciduous and coniferous trees. So if you notice, if you go out, you'll see both the deciduous trees, the ones that are, seasonal, they lose their leaves. And you also see some coniferous ones. So you see like pine trees and things like that. They have cold winters. It can get extremely cold in Indiana with hot summers. The soil is rich in humus. Humus is very like organic, like darker soil. So if you go out and dig up some soil in the middle of the woods, it'll be pretty dark. It's very rich. It's good for growing. It's organic material living or inside of the soil. Year-round precipitation, known for change in seasons. So we do have rain all year round. No issues there. And it's known for changing in seasons. So we have seasonal weather, basically. Northwestern coniferous forest. These have mild, moist air from Pacific Ocean, known for coniferous and giant redwoods, found in northwest U.S. up through Canada and Alaska, also known as a temperate rainforest. So when I was in high school, I actually had a chance to go out to one of these. It was in Washington State. It was weird to see. It was just raining all the time. There was a giant moose that lived there. It was a pretty cool experience getting to go out to this rainforest. And it's weird to think of a rainforest in the continental U.S. but it was pretty neat. Think of Seattle. Seattle rains all the time too. So Washington State, yeah, it gets a lot of rain. Boreal forests. This is a taiga. Cold winters, short mild summers, nutrient poor soil, and think Canada and Russia. So if you go up north, if you ever been up to Canada, I'm guessing you probably haven't been to Russia. But if you ever go up to Canada, not really like a permafrost situation, but it's like go down a little bit and it's going to be kind of frozen. So it's like a really short summer. Tundra is next. This is where we get the permafrost. So part of that soil is permanently frozen, or all of it is permanently frozen. It's very cold, very short summers. Cold and wind limit plant growth. So there's not a whole lot of growth. Usually you might find some grasses or shrubs here, but succession really can't take over because it's so cold for most of the year. Like you don't even see really trees here. They can't take root like the pine cones or pine trees. And lastly, last one we're gonna do today are the mountains and ice caps. So some areas do not fall into any of these biomes. Mountain ranges can have all of the biomes in just a few miles. So like the Rocky Mountains, they're thinking more like this. Think of like the Himalayas. You can have, because it gets so tall, it gets really extremely cold. It doesn't grow. You usually see a tree line where the trees no longer grow on a mountain, and then as you go down, it can get more and more rich types of things. So I think of Asia kind of when I think of seeing all of the different biomes within a specific area. And the polar ice caps, well, they can be covered by 5 kilometers of ice with very little ice. So that's like 2 miles of ice, which is, well, not well, yeah, this is a lot of ice. So nothing's going to be living there really, or very few things are going to be living there. Maybe some extremophiles. So yep, that's it. Those are our biomes. Pretty easy section of notes today, like very small amount of notes, just going over the biomes. And yeah, I think I'll end it there for you guys today. Peace.